September 3rd, 2023, 2:47 a.m. Ropotan sector, Zaporizhia Oblast. A Russian armored column advances through darkness. 23 vehicles, T-72 tanks, BMP infantry fighting vehicles, BTR armored personnel carriers, standard night movement, thermal optics scanning, radio discipline maintained. 11 minutes later, all 23 vehicles are destroyed or abandoned. Not a single Ukrainian vehicle takes damage. Not one return shot fired effectively. The Russian column never saw what hit them. This is IronBullet. And what you're about to witness isn't just an ambush. It's the resurrection of a tactical doctrine from 1991. Desert Storm, 73 Easting. The last time Western technology and training created this level of one-sided armor combat. 32 years later, it happened again. On Ukrainian soil, with Ukrainian crews, using tactics that shouldn't work anymore because everyone knows about them now. Except knowing about the tactic and defending against it are two very different problems. The official analysis calls this a successful ambush engagement. Textbook execution, superior optics, good terrain usage, all true, all incomplete. Because the detail that made this massacre possible, the reason 23 Russian vehicles died without landing a single effective hit, isn't about technology. It's about a decision made 3 hours before the first shot. A decision so simple, it sounds obvious. Until you understand why the Russians couldn't make the same choice. Stay with me. Because this 11-minute engagement is going to show you the difference between having advanced equipment and knowing how to use it. And the difference is measured in destroyed vehicles. Let's start with what a 73 Easting engagement actually means. February 26, 1991. Iraqi desert. 73 Easting grid coordinate. US 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment encounters Iraqi Republican Guard forces. M1A1 Abrams tanks with thermal imaging versus Iraqi T-72s without. Result: 160 Iraqi armored vehicles destroyed in 23 minutes. 0 US tank losses. The thermal advantage was total. Americans could see in darkness and sandstorm. Iraqis were effectively blind. They died without knowing where fire was coming from. That engagement became legend. Changed how militaries think about sensor technology. Every major army invested in thermal optics after Desert Storm. By 2023, thermal sights are standard equipment on frontline Russian vehicles. So how does a 73 Easting-style massacre happen again when both sides have thermal imaging? That's the first question. Hold on to it. September 2nd, 2023. Evening. Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade receives intelligence. Russian armored column staging 15 kilometers east. Probable movement during night hours. Target Ukrainian positions near Ropotan. Ukrainian response 4 tanks. Mix of Leopard 2 and upgraded T-64 PV. Plus supporting elements. Total force approximately 40 soldiers. Against 23 Russian vehicles carrying 200 plus personnel. Outnumbered 5-1 in vehicles. 5-1 in manpower. But the Ukrainian commander makes a specific choice. Position the ambush force on a ridge line 2,300 meters from the expected Russian route. 2,300 meters. That number matters. Remember it. Russian column departs staging area at 2:15 a.m. Movement is methodical. Lead security element. Main body. Trail security. They're following Doctrine. Not rushing, not sloppy. Lead vehicle commander. Thermal optics active. Scanning. Looking for threats. Standard operating procedure. But here's what he's looking for. Infantry positions. Anti-tank teams at close range. Threats within 800 to 1,200 meters. That's where Doctrine says the danger is. He's not scanning ridge lines 2,300 meters away, because at that range, in darkness, even with thermal optics, detection is uncertain, or identification is difficult. And most importantly, nobody expects enemy armor at that distance. Ukrainian forces on the ridgeline, completely stationary. Engines off, vehicles cold, minimal thermal signature. They've been in position for 3 hours, waiting, watching. Their thermal sights, Generation 3, high resolution, can detect vehicle-sized heat sources at 4,000 plus meters, can identify vehicle types at 2,500 meters, can target effectively at 2,300 meters. The Russian column's thermal sights, mostly Generation 2, some Generation 1 on older vehicles. Detection range 2,000 to 2,500 meters under ideal conditions. Identification range 1,500 to 1,800 meters. Target engagement range 1,200 to 1,500 meters. This is the gap. Not massive, not science fiction. Just enough. 2:43 a.m. Russian column enters the kill zone. They're moving through a valley, low ground. Ukrainian positions on high ground. Classic terrain advantage. But terrain advantage only matters if you can exploit it. And exploitation requires seeing the enemy before they see you. Ukrainian commander waits. The entire Russian column needs to enter the engagement area. No vehicles escaping back. No warning to trailing units. Everyone inside the box. 2:46 a.m. Final Russian vehicle enters the kill zone. 23 targets. Range 2,100 to 2,500 meters. All vehicles identified. All crews unaware they're being observed. Ukrainian crews have been tracking them for 4 minutes. Laser range finding complete. Target assignments distributed. Each Ukrainian tank has 5 to 6 designated targets. Fire sequence planned. This is the moment where technology meets training. Having thermal sights means nothing if you don't position them correctly. Position means nothing if you don't maintain discipline while waiting. Discipline means nothing if you can't execute coordinated fire. Ukrainian forces spent 6 months training on NATO Doctrine, target identification, fire control procedures, coordinated engagement sequences, not just driving tanks, employing them as weapon systems. The Russians have thermal optics. They don't have the training integration. Equipment without doctrine is just expensive hardware. 2:47 a.m. Ukrainian commander gives the order. All units engage. 4 Ukrainian tanks open fire simultaneously. 120 me and 125 the main guns. Armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding support rounds. APF-SDS. Penetrators traveling at 1,650 meters per second. First salvo, 4 shots. 4 hits. 4 Russian vehicles destroyed. Time to first hit, 2.3 seconds from firing. Russian reaction time, none. They don't know they're under fire yet. The sound of distant gunfire is meaningless without knowing where it's coming from or what's being targeted. Second salvo, 3.8 seconds after the first. 4 more shots, 3 hits. 3 more vehicles destroyed. 1 miss, target maneuvered at wrong moment. Now the Russians know they're under attack, but they still don't know from where. The muzzle flashes are visible, but at 2,300 meters in darkness, identifying exact positions is difficult. Their thermal sights are scanning, searching, finding nothing definitive. Lead Russian tank commander makes a decision. Rapid fire towards suspected threat axis, 125mm gun. He's firing blind, hoping to suppress, hoping to force Ukrainian forces to button up or displace. 3 rounds fired, all miss, not even close. He's estimating range poorly. No laser rangefinder solution. No proper target identification. Ukrainian third salvo, 4 shots, 4 hits. 4 more destroyed vehicles. Russian column is now in chaos. Command and control breaking down. Individual vehicle commanders making independent decisions. Some try to reverse, some try to find cover, some try to return fire. None of it works, because they still can't see their attackers clearly enough to engage effectively. The Ukrainian tanks are hulled down on a ridge line. Minimal profile, low thermal signature from cold. Vehicles, and 2,300 meters away. 2:48 a.m., 1 minute into the engagement. 15 Russian vehicles destroyed or disabled. 8 remaining. Those 8 are trying to disperse, trying to break contact, trying to survive. Ukrainian forces shift fire. Target the vehicles attempting retreat. Cut off escape routes. Standard ambush doctrine. Don't let anyone leave to. Report accurate information about your position and strength. 4th Ukrainian salvo, 4 shots, 3 hits. 2 vehicles destroyed. 1 mobility kill. Track destroyed. Vehicle immobilized but gun still functional. That immobilized vehicle tries to return fire. Gunner estimates Ukrainian position. Fires. Round impacts 400 meters short. He's misjudging range badly. No proper fire control solution. Desperation shooting. Ukrainian forces ignore him temporarily. Target the mobile threats first. The immobilized vehicle can't escape. It can wait. 5th salvo, 4 shots, 4 hits, 3 more destroyed. 1 ammunition detonation, catastrophic kill, turret blown off. 2:49 a.m., 2 minutes into engagement. 20 vehicles destroyed or disabled. 3 attempting escape. Those 3 are moving fast. Evasive maneuvering. Smoke grenades deployed. They're trained enough to know the basics of breaking contact. But smoke doesn't hide thermal signatures. It blocks visible light. Thermal imaging sees right through it. The Ukrainian gunners maintain track. Wait for clear shots. Fire. 6th salvo. 3 shots. 2 hits. 2 more destroyed. 1 vehicle escapes initial fire. Gets 800 meters away before Ukrainian commander redirects 1 tank to pursue. That tank repositions. Acquires target. Fires. Hit. Final escaping vehicle destroyed. 2:51 a.m., 4 minutes into engagement. 22 Russian vehicles destroyed. 1 remaining, the immobilized tank that fired earlier. Ukrainian. Commander makes a decision. Infantry dismounts. Approaches with anti-tank weapons. The crew of the immobilized tank surrenders. Smart choice. They're immobilized, isolated and surrounded. Total engagement time. 11 minutes from first shot to final surrender. Ukrainian losses 0 vehicles, 0 casualties. Approximately 40 main gun rounds expended. Russian losses 22 vehicles destroyed. 1 captured. Estimated 67 killed, 34 wounded, 103 captured or missing. This is the kind of engagement that seems impossible in modern warfare. Both sides have technology. Both sides have training. How does one side achieve this level of dominance? The answer is in the details most people ignore. Detail 1, range selection. 2000. It's the exact distance where Generation 3 thermal sights maintain clear advantage over Generation 2. Close enough to engage effectively. Far enough that Russian optics struggle with identification and ranging. Detail 2. Positioning discipline. Ukrainian forces maintained cold vehicles in stationary positions for 3 hours. That's not about patience. It's about doctrinal understanding that thermal signature management matters as much as armor thickness. Detail 3. Fire control integration. 4 tanks, 23 targets. No fratricide, no duplicate targeting. That requires communication, coordination, and training that most armies claim to have, but few actually implement effectively. Detail 4. Tactical patience. Ukrainian commander waited until the entire Russian column was inside the kill zone. Not just the lead elements, everyone. That's the difference between an ambush and a meeting engagement. These aren't individual tactical tricks. This is systemic integration of technology, doctrine, and training. It's what separates having equipment from employing weapon systems. The Russians had thermal optics. They had main battle tanks. They had trained crews. What they didn't have was the doctrinal framework to use those assets in combination. And in modern warfare, equipment without doctrine is just targets waiting to be destroyed. Now here's where it gets interesting. This engagement happened in September 2023. By that point, Russian forces had been fighting in Ukraine for 19 months. They'd seen Ukrainian ambush tactics. They'd lost vehicles to similar engagements. They knew the threat. So why didn't they adapt? That's the second question. The answer explains more than just this one battle. Russian military doctrine is centralized. Tactics are prescribed. Initiative at small unit level is limited. Battalion commanders execute plans. They don't develop them. Ukrainian military doctrine, especially after NATO training integration, emphasizes small unit initiative. Company and platoon commanders are expected to analyze terrain, understand enemy capabilities, and develop appropriate tactics. The Ukrainian commander who planned this ambush had authority to choose position, timing, and engagement method. He made those choices based on his understanding of his equipment's capabilities versus enemy equipment's limitations. The Russian column commander had a route, a schedule, instructions to reach a position by a certain time. He followed those instructions. When ambushed, he had no pre-planned response for engagement at 2,300 meters because doctrine doesn't envision that scenario. This is the difference between training soldiers to execute orders and training soldiers to make decisions. Both approaches work under specific conditions. Centralized control works when you have better resources and can overwhelm through mass. Decentralized control works when you need to maximize limited resources through superior tactics. Ukraine doesn't have mass, so they maximize tactics. And when tactics are maximized by competent small unit leaders with good equipment, you get 73 Easting-style massacres. But here's the part nobody talks about. The cost. Those 4 Ukrainian tanks that executed this ambush. Incredibly valuable assets. Trained crews, NATO standard equipment, months of preparation. They can execute this kind of engagement maybe 3 times before Russian forces adapt their movement patterns enough to reduce effectiveness. Maybe 5 times if they're lucky. After that, the tactical surprise is gone. Russian forces start moving differently. Stay on high ground, maintain larger intervals, keep better sensor watch at extended range. And then Ukrainian forces need new tactics, new approaches, constant innovation to maintain advantage. That's exhausting. Mentally, physically, logistically. You can sustain that operational tempo indefinitely with limited forces. Russia can lose 23 vehicles in one engagement and replace them from strategic reserves. Ukraine destroys 23 vehicles and maybe puts a small dent in one Russian brigade's combat power. The tactical victory is real. The strategic impact is limited. That's the brutal mathematics of asymmetric warfare. 3 questions from the beginning. Time to answer them. How does 73 Easting happen when both sides have thermal imaging? Because having technology and knowing how to employ it are different problems. Ukrainian forces understood sensor capabilities and positioned at exact range where their optics maintained advantage. Russians had equivalent technology but lacked doctrinal framework to use it effectively. Why couldn't the Russians make the same tactical choice? Because their command structure doesn't empower small unit leaders to make those decisions. The Ukrainian platoon commander had initiative. The Russian battalion commander had orders. Initiative 1. What made this different from a normal ambush? Integration. Not just good positioning or good shooting. Coordinated employment of sensors, weapons, fire control, and terrain understanding into a single system. Technology plus doctrine plus training equals dominance. Remove any one element and the equation fails. The lesson here isn't that Ukrainian forces have better equipment. They don't. Total equipment advantage still favors Russia. The lesson is that superior employment of adequate equipment defeats inferior employment of equivalent or even better equipment every single time. 73. Easting in 1991 proved that sensor advantage creates decisive tactical outcomes. This engagement in 2023 proves that sensor advantage still matters, but only when paired with doctrine that exploits it. Russia learned the wrong lesson from Desert Storm. They bought thermal optics. They equipped their tanks. They thought technology alone was the answer. Ukraine learned the right lesson. Technology enables tactics. Training integrates technology. Doctrine provides framework. All three together create combat power. This is IronBullet. We analyze the battles that changed wars, and this 11-minute massacre changed how we understand the gap between equipment and capability. Having advanced weapons means nothing if you don't have the training to use them, or the doctrine to employ them, or the command structure to enable them. The ridge line near Robotyne is quiet now. The wrecks have been cleared, the position abandoned. Ukrainian forces moved to different terrain the same day. They won't use that ambush site again, because tactical surprise only works once. After that, you need a new approach, new terrain, new method, constant adaptation. That's the price of fighting outnumbered. You can't win through attrition. You have to win through innovation. Every single engagement. Subscribe to IronBullet, because in modern warfare, the side that learns faster wins more battles than the side with more bullets. 23 vehicles destroyed in 11 minutes. 0 friendly losses. That's not luck. That's not even superior equipment. That's the integration of technology, training, and tactical doctrine into something greater than the sum of parts. If you think thermal optics alone explain this outcome, type IronBullet in the comments. If you understand that doctrine matters more than hardware, tell me what other tactical innovations you've seen in this war. Because warfare evolves, and the side that evolves faster survives. The Ukrainian platoon commander who planned this engagement will never be famous. His name won't appear in history books, but his decision to position at 2,300 meters instead of 1,200 meters killed 67 Russian soldiers and destroyed 22 vehicles. That's the power of tactical understanding. One decision, 11 minutes, complete dominance, real battles, real tactics, real consequences. Stay vigilant.